For whatever reason, we as fans struggle with the idea of assigning both blame and praise to different athletes. And because of that, we see what should be considered great collaborations in football as zero-sum games. Bill Belichick has never won without Tom Brady, or Tom Brady is a system quarterback. There's no arguing that the two most central and important figures in an NFL locker room are the head coach and the QB. But which one of them is more responsible for their team's success, or lack thereof? The fact is, you have to look at these things on a case-by-case basis. Today we're going to study 3 QB coach combos and examine one of the oldest debates in the NFL. Is it the coach, or is it the QB? Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy is something of a special case. He's coached 3 great quarterbacks, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, and Dak Prescott. Okay, 2 great quarterbacks. And yet he wasn't around for the acquisition of any of them. He inherited all 3. We have no evidence that McCarthy can identify talent, but there's no question he can develop it. Before he was an ayahuasca-drinking, cave-dwelling, Rogan and McAfee appearing, serial dating, family ignoring... Okay, you get the point. Aaron Rodgers is a weird dude. But before the Packers hired Mike McCarthy in 2006, Rodgers was, for all intents and purposes, an unseasoned quarterback who held the ball weirdly close to his helmet. Mike McCarthy is something of a punchline now, despite a career record of 254 and 155, and Aaron Rodgers is still regarded as one of the most talented and efficient passers we've ever seen, evolving into a quarterback who posted a TD to interception ratio of a 111-13 in his first 3 years under current Packers head coach Matt LaFleur. But the singular ring on Rodgers' hand, that came when Mike McCarthy was calling the shots, and McCarthy has a lot more to do with that Super Bowl than most remember. Roster depth played a vital role in the Green Bay Packers championship season in 2010. In Week 1, starting running back Ryan Grant suffered a season-ending injury, setting the tone for what could have easily been a lost year for Green Bay. More flies kept dropping, but previous rookie nobodies like James Starks and Sam Shields ended up keeping the team afloat. Similarly, the Packers dealt with injuries to key players on both sides of the ball, including linebacker Nick Barnett, safety Morgan Burnett, and tight end Jermichael Finley. However, despite 16 players on injured reserve, the team was able to rely on a lot of backups to fill those gaps, and they ultimately won the Super Bowl with a 31-25 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can point to the construction of the roster, but you have to give Mike McCarthy his due as a coach whose team embodied the next man up credo. Rodgers' best years statistically have culminated in playoff disappointment. However, all of the years the Packers had an excuse to lay down and die in January, a well-rounded, well-coached roster headed up by Mike McCarthy is largely the reason Aaron Rodgers has that 1 Lombardi in his 15 years as a starter. But if you look at McCarthy post-Rodgers, well, for this one, I'm going to have to give the edge to Aaron, Bill Walsh, Joe Montana. Before Tom Brady wrestled the title of GOAT away from him in recent years, Joe Montana was generally accepted as the greatest quarterback that ever lived. Broncos fans, shut the fuck up. Montana was almost supernaturally gifted in terms of timing, accuracy, and vision, but he was not an otherworldly talent in the mold of Dan Marino or John Elway. His coach recognized an underappreciated Notre Dame passer that fit his offense to a T. And that offense made all the difference. Bill Walsh is considered the godfather of the West Coast offense, a highly efficient system that shaped the NFL as we know it today. Walsh developed the scheme during his time as an assistant coach with the Cincinnati Bengals, adapting to the loss of strong-arm quarterback Greg Cook, and later perfected it as the head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. The West Coast offense is known for its emphasis on short, high-percentage passes and its ability to spread the ball around to multiple receivers. It also relies heavily on timing and precision, with the quarterback and receivers making quick decisions and precise throws. And Joe Montana was its perfect conductor. The West Coast offense proved highly successful under Walsh's guidance and Montana's execution, leading the 49ers to 3 Super Bowl victories in the 1980s and setting the stage for the spread offenses that dominate modern football today. It's easy to forget, however, that Montana did win a Super Bowl without Walsh. But it came just a year after Walsh retired in 1989, and his successor George Seifert was able to maintain mostly the same roster and same principles as the Walshless Niners beat their 3 playoff opponents by a total of 100 points. While Walsh both succeeded and later struggled as head coach of the Stanford Cardinal, Montana finished out his career with 2 seasons in Kansas City. Still running the West Coast offense that Walsh had pioneered, Joe Cool went 17-8 as a Chief with modest passing numbers, but was unable to get over the hump, posting an even postseason mark of 2-2. Walsh was an architect, and Montana was his greatest tool. But it's easy to imagine a scenario where an undersized passer without a howitzer of an arm could have become football's version of a square peg in a round hole had he not been drafted by Bill Walsh in 1979. As hard as this is, I'm gonna have to give the edge to Bill Walsh. And finally, the greatest debate of all time, Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. There are 8 rings spread across Bill Belichick's 2 hands, 7 across Tom Brady's. 6 of them are identical, the product of 2 separate dynasties that took place 10 years apart. It's hard to separate the pair, given that Bill Belichick was de facto GM when Brady was selected with the 199th overall pick back in 2000. Despite extending the incumbent QB Drew Bledsoe to a lucrative deal after Brady was drafted, it's clear that Belichick wasn't confident in a quarterback he had success against as a defensive coordinator in New York. And in just 18 games, Belichick and Bledsoe had posted a meager record of 5-13. So when Brady took the reins 2 weeks into 2001, it was more than fortuitous, and the rest is obviously history. So Belichick gets credit for drafting Brady, and furthermore, he gets credit as a defensive mind during the first Super Bowl run. In the Patriots' 3 championships in the early part of the 2000s, the defense was 6th, 1st, and 2nd in total defense. Not to get too McCockiner on everyone, but despite the heroics on the final drive by Brady against the Rams in Super Bowl 36, it was the defensive game plan that carried the load, holding the best offense in football, aka the greatest show on turf, to just 3 points in the first 3 quarters of the game and just 17 points overall. The second dynasty was when things grew more even. The 2014 team was better offensively in terms of scoring, as was the 2018 team, which won Super Bowl number 6, once more against the Rams. However, that final Super Bowl was like a mirror image of the first. Belichick's defense held LA's second best scoring offense to just 3 points in the biggest game of the year, proving that Belichick's elite ability to game plan against the toughest opponents bailed out a Tom Brady offense that scored just 13 points. And please do not give their defensive coordinator any credit. We know it was Bill Belichick. The Belichick-Brady relationship reached an impasse a year later in 2019. The offense was potent, but the Pats' first-ranked defense and Defensive Player of the Year, Stephon Gilmore, did the heavy lifting while Brady began to look mortal at age 42, capped off by a bitter end in the wild-card round where the Pats were unable to muster more than 13 points on offense, surrendering a pick 6 by former Patriot Logan Ryan in the final moments. It was easy to make the case that Belichick was the deciding factor in most of New England's unprecedented success. The smoking gun in many pro-Belichick arguments was the 2008 Patriots team that compiled an unlikely 11-5 record with Matt Castle under center after Brady was done just minutes into the season. However, that all changed in 2020. I mean, did anything else big happen in 2020? After a bumpy ride in the first half of the season, new Buccaneers quarterback Tom Brady found the fountain of youth in Tampa and delivered a Super Bowl title to a franchise that hadn't even made the playoffs since 2007. Brady's late career surge in Florida coincided with the down period with the Patriots, where Belichick remains the coach and GM. Brady's regular season record in 3 years as a Buck totals to 32-18, and you can toss 5 playoff victories into the mix as well. Meanwhile, Belichick's record post-Brady sunk to an even 25-25, with a humiliating playoff loss at Buffalo that underscored the fact that these were not the same Patriots without Tom Brady. And Mac Jones is Wish.com Tom Brady. I mean, they're already shopping him. Combine the post-Brady record with a pre-Brady mark, and you can have a pretty damning number. Belichick is just 79-87 without number 12 calling the signals. There's no doubt that Belichick and Brady were both indispensable as they won 6 Super Bowls. But it's clear the narrative has flipped in favor of Tom Terrific. However, this one is too close to call. I'm gonna let you decide down in the comments below. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.